Hello, my name is Michael Camper, and I'm part of the audio team at Epic Games. This is the fifth in a series of short videos to help you understand how to use the audio features available in the beta release of Unreal Editor for Fortnite, which I'll also be referring to as UEFN. For more detailed information on working with UEFN, I've provided some official documentation links in the description below. In the last video, I showed you how to import audio files into your project. In this video, I'll be introducing sound cues, explaining how they can be utilized in your project, and the features they offer for manipulating your audio. Sound cues are basically a wrapper for audio cues that contain a set of features which allow you to play back and manipulate audio files in various ways. There are a number of ways to create them in your project. The easiest way to create a sound cue is by right-clicking the audio file you want embedded inside it and selecting Create Cue, which is at the top of the context menu. You'll notice that this just copies the name of the audio file and appends cue to the end of it. If you double-click on the cue, it will open and you can see that the audio file is embedded inside the cue in a wave player node and connected to the output speaker node. The other way to create a sound cue is by right-clicking inside your audio folders and in the context menu scroll down to the audio section. It is the top asset available in the context menu. Make sure you name it appropriately, utilizing your naming scheme. Double-click on the cue and it will open. To add your audio file to the cue, simply drag your file from the folder into the cue and will auto-populate into a wave player node. You can also select a wave player from the sound node menu and drag it into the cue viewport. From there, you can select the audio file you want from either the drop-down menu by selecting it in the folder window and pressing the Select Asset button, or simply dragging the file into the sound wave slot. From there, you simply connect the wave player output to the main output node, and the sound cue is now ready to play back your audio. If you have multiple files you want embedded inside a sound cue, you can select all of them, right-click, and the context menu will give you the option to create individual cues for each file, or embed them all into a single cue. If we open up that cue, we see that all the files are connected to the output through a random node. This is useful if you have a sound that will be repeated a lot in your island, and you have created multiple variations of that sound so that the player isn't hearing the same thing over and over again. So let's start looking at some of the nodes that are available in sound cues in the beta version of UEFN. Since we have the random node right here, let's take a look at it. Looking at the node itself, you can add and delete inputs fairly easily depending on how many audio files you want to add or subtract. Just click a node and select Break this link, and then click on the empty connection and select Delete Input. You can create more inputs by simply clicking the Add Input button. So let's say we want to add a bit more variety to our audio playback, so let's add a modulator node. Simply select it on the right side and drag it into the viewport. Then I'm going to add it into the chain by pulling a hook out of the random output and connecting it to the input of the modulator. And then do the same thing between the modulator and the main output node. If we select the modulator, you'll see that there are variables available to adjust the minimum and maximum of the pitch and the volume of the audio playback. You can play around with these settings to add a little bit of variation for when your audio plays back in your island. You can also use the modulator to set a specific pitch or volume by setting the min and max settings to the same number. Let's say you didn't want these sounds to play back randomly, but at the same time. In that case, I'm going to delete the random and modulator nodes and pull out a mixer node. You can delete and add inputs the same way you did in the random node. Then connect your sounds to the mixer. Within the mixer node, you can then adjust the volume inputs of each sound to balance them in any way you want. Now I want to slightly delay the start of one of these audio files. I'm going to pull out a delay node from the right-hand column and add it to the audio path of one of the wave players. Just like in the modulator, I have a min and a max variable that I can adjust depending on how much I want to delay the audio from playing. If I remove the mixer and delay nodes and replace them with the concatenator node, the audio files will now play sequentially based on what order they are hooked up to the node. As soon as the first one finishes playing, the next one will start. Let's look at a different sound cue to show off some of the other sound nodes. The audio file in this cue is a longer file that has a wind ambience. I want this wind to be playing continuously in my island, so the easiest way to do that is to select the wave player and check the looping box. Now, when I press play on the cue, the sound will loop endlessly until it is told to stop. There is also a looping node you can add to the cue. This gives you the option to set a certain number of loops before the sound will stop playing on its own. There are a few other sound nodes in a sound cue, but I'm going to leave them for another video when I get into some of the more advanced features of UEFN. For now, the nodes I've introduced you to should give you most of what you need to start populating your island with audio. Thank you for watching, and I hope you are enjoying creating your own islands in Unreal Editor for Fortnite.